When was the last time when you saw a Grandmaster playing the Benoni defense? When I think about it, I can't remember. But when did you see a Grandmaster rated almost 2700 play the Benoni? And the answer is again the same. Maybe you might find some blitz games or some old players or old games where very strong Grandmasters deployed the Benoni, but nowadays it's almost never played. But in the game, Grandmaster Sahakyan against the American Grandmaster Sevian, rated almost 2700, played the Benoni. Although he chose a very clever move order. So now let's see. Ter-Sahakyan starts the game with first d4 and Sevian plays knight to f6. Then follows c4, e6, and now white plays g3. And this is an incredibly important moment, because with g3, white isn't allowing some lines while allowing other lines. Let's see what white might have been trying here, or what he actually prevented. So let's say knight c3, then of course bishop b4 is the Nimso Indian, and some white players who want to avoid this and play knight to f3, and then might follow b6, g3, bishop a6 or bishop to b7, and yeah, the pawn is attacked, so it must be defended, and the game continues. However, after g3, white occupies this diagonal very early, and black has no time to play b6. So this move is inviting black to play a move like d5 or bishop to b4 check, something like this. However, Sevian decided to give white the chance to go into a Benoni structure. And here the key thing is that g3 has been played. And as mentioned earlier, we are going to take a look at the move orders of the Benoni in the end of this video, and we will see why it's very important to actually get this position from this move order on a higher Grandmaster level. So after c5, white has a choice between knight to f3 and the game move d5. Now white gains space. After this move, black takes on d5, white takes on d5, and black plays d6. And after knight c3, g6, this is the modern Benoni with g3. So knight f3, bishop to g7, all these moves are pretty standard. Bishop to g2, black castles, white castles, and rook to e8. And this is a very important moment. A few years ago, this line with bishop f4 was very fashionable and trendy, because after knight e4, knight takes e4, rook takes e4, it was believed that knight d2 basically forces rook takes f4 and white wins the exchange, so the rook for a bishop, but the structure is a little bit worse and black might have some or very decent compensation, for example along the diagonal, and this might be a potential passed pawn. However, this was not played in the game here. Instead, rook to e1 was played. And rook to e1 is a very tricky move, and we will see why. After a6, a4, black goes for the standard knight b to d7. And now bishop f4 is possible, and knight to e4 is not working because knight takes e4 and rook takes e4. And now not knight to d2, not this move, but simply bishop takes d6, and white just won a pawn. Therefore, bishop f4 is a popular move here after this rook e1, a6, a4 insertion. So it's very important here to play bishop f4 or e4. And Ter-Sahakyan might have mixed up some lines and played knight to d2. And Now black is taking over the control after rook b8. A very simple but good move. So well played by Sevian, and white decides that he doesn't want to allow b5 and therefore plays a5. And in case of b5, which was played, white has this en passant. However, after knight takes b6, h3, it's already black who is fighting for an advantage. And now the knight goes from f6 to d7, queen c2 played, knight to e5. So in two moves, the knight moved to e5, and the other knight is already on b6, so one knight is going to jump to c4 if white allows this. But of course he doesn't want to allow this and therefore plays b3, but the disadvantage of b3 is that it's weakening the long diagonal because there's no pawn on b2 anymore. So now black's still insisting on playing knight c4, somehow plays c4. And after b takes c4, black takes with the b knight on c4 and white exchanges on c4, and now black is already better. So rook a4 played, and now black has a very simple move, and it's knight to b6. And the reason why black is better here is, for one, this pawn, because it's a passed pawn, and the other reason is that white's pieces are far worse coordinated than the black pieces. And we will see how Sevian is going to treat this position. So after the rook was attacked by knight b6, the rook goes back to a3, and now white has an issue because bishop f5 is coming. And Ter-Sahakyan decided to play e4. Then came queen to c8. The bishop cannot be taken because of this pin. So the e-pawn isn't doing much for now. And another thing is that now the h3 pawn is threatened by bishop and queen, so white must do something about it and goes king h2. Then the bishop just drops back to d7. Now we can see there is another pin which black is going to try to exploit. So rook to e2 played, but this doesn't help much. Rook b7. The rook might just join. Knight to a2, offering the exchange of queens. But actually black wants to fight for the c file, because if there's an exchange here, black still has an advantage, but he can achieve more, and we will see how. So black plays bishop to b5, and this move is attacking the defender of the queen, because the rook is defending the queen, as we have seen a moment ago. And white must do something about it, because, for example, rook d2 does not work due to knight c4, and now black is winning material, a rook for a knight. Therefore, white exchanged on c8, so queens were exchanged, rook takes c8, and now the difference is that it's a black rook on the c file and not a white rook on c2. So rook e1, and now the rook enters black's camp, and losing the second rank here was very crucial. And after knight to b4, there is this very simple rook takes f2, and knight c6 was played, and after knight c4, white decided to resign. And I believe it wasn't too early, because black controls the second rank, black is material up, and black has the better pieces. Just look at this bishop, this knight controlling a lot of important squares, and also this bishop here might play an important role later. So I hope you like the game part, and now let's move to the opening part. So in the game d4, knight f6, c4, e6 was played. Instead, the typical Benoni is seen after the c5 move. And the reason why Sevian chose this move order or playing c5 only after g3 is the following. Here, black might go d5, which is the most popular move, and after e6, knight c3, e takes d5, c takes d5, d6. White has a variety of moves here. For example, e4. And then comes g6 and now f4. And this is the 3-pawn attack, and it's very unpleasant. And this is a rather forced position after bishop b5 check, which is the only good move here for white. There's knight f to d7, and this position isn't very nice for black. There's a lack of space, and later the queen checking on h4 will give nothing because of a g3 move. So let's go back. This is one variation. If we want to enter the game, we can do this with g3, g6, bishop to g2, bishop g7, knight to f3, and we have the game position here. Like rook e8 was played, and then rook e1, a6, a4, and knight bd7, knight d2, and this was the inaccuracy, which we have discussed. On the other hand, there is another move, or a move order, e4, g6, and now a move like bishop to d3, bishop g7, and now h3, black castles, and now knight f3. And the point of white that he's trying to prove is that this bishop is lacking a good square. So that's the reason why Sevian chose the move order e6 and only after g3 went for c5. So I hope you liked this video. If you want to support the channel, feel free to leave a like and subscribe. See you.